everyone, it's Erin with Hail Varsity. I am joined by Greg, recruiting extraordinaire of Hail Varsity, and we are outside of Memorial Stadium to answer another recruiting question of the week. First and foremost, apologies for any fun noises you hear in the background. Because we are coming to you from Memorial Stadium, they're actually still tearing down from Garth Brooks, which happened over the weekend, so it's a pretty busy time right now. But we're not here to talk about Garth Brooks or really anything that just happened post-practice. We are here to talk to you about the recruiting question of the week. This week it comes from Nathan, who basically asked, what is a position that
Nebraska has under-recruited?
Under-recruited. Nebraska is under-recruited.
And then the flip side of that, where's one that they have maybe over-recruited or they've recruited or heavily focused on.
Okay.
And I will start with that one, actually.
He's starting with the second half of Nathan's question.
Yeah,
all right.
Let's make it difficult.
All right.
I feel like put a heavy emphasis on wide receiver. I think that's one that Nebraska has brought in multiple players at that position each recruiting cycle, and there's been multiple reasons for that. I think that Scott Frost talked about when he first arrived in Lincoln that they did not have enough wide receivers for the style of offense that he wanted to run. They routinely run out 4 wide receivers, so that means you need to have a lot of them, right? And then receivers were leaving. They've had some attrition with that for various reasons during the time that they've been here. So I think they've needed to continue to stock the cupboard with wide receivers. And coincidentally, I think Nebraska does have the wide receiver room in a position now that I think that they really would like it to be at, both in terms of the numbers, the sheer number of guys, and with the size of the players that they have inside of the room as well. I think that things have really turned around at that position group.
So now you have to flip it. Also, for the record, because you all notice, by the way, whenever I cut in the middle of a video, you all notice, and you're like, what happened? Well, in this case, what happened is a big, loud truck just drove down this street. Like, they literally waited for us to start. They didn't, but it feels personal, and I'm now upset. I also did not realize how breezy it is until we came out here, and there are literal signs from the Garth Brooks concert flying off the building. So anyway, you have to now respond to the flip side of the question.
Okay, I think the first thing that came to my mind was actually defensive line.
Okay.
And I think the reason for this is actually a good one. Defensive line has had, to me, the best blend on the team of old guys that were here with the previous regime and new guys that Scott Frost has brought in that have been able to play. It is more difficult, though, that makes sense, because it is more difficult for young defensive linemen to just come in and hit the ground running and play in the Big Ten right away. Actually, Ben Stilley mentioned that when talking about Ty Robinson and the time that it took for him to come in, and Ty is the best example of that. He was the most heavily recruited defensive lineman that they've brought in with this staff, and so even him, it took a little bit of time to really get acclimated. So I think that defensive line, because it takes a while and because they had some really good holdovers from the previous staff, has been maybe a little bit under-recruited, but it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Well, it'll be interesting to see, because this next class, as we've talked about in these videos before, is going to be particularly small. So attention is going to start turning to classes beyond 2022 and into the future, because this one just won't have a lot of players to really go off of. So it'll be interesting to watch what maybe 2023 and 2024 look like, and see if some of these trends continue, if things switch themselves around.
Yeah, 13 is the latest intel that I have.
Gosh,
the number. That number, I feel like that number has dropped every time we've talked about it.
I hear everyone groaning watching this video.
That's where we are right now, as far as I know.
Well, we'll be back with more recruiting, obviously, through the week. If you want to talk to Greg about this topic, you can tweet at him at GregSmithHV, but he'll also have more in the recruiting notebook this evening, 6 p.m. Central at hailvarsity.com. So go ahead and check that out, bookmark it right now. The recruiting notebook actually goes live 5 days a week, Sunday through Thursday, 6 p.m. Central. So you can always check out Hail Varsity for all of that. But again, questions, comments, want to chime in, Greg Smith HV on Twitter or at Hail Varsity. You can tweet at me at Erin Sorensen, but I'm going to still direct you to Greg. You can leave comments here on YouTube, Facebook, you name it. We just appreciate you watching as always, and for chiming in. We will be back soon, because game week is coming, and recruiting's going to hopefully pick up with it.
It never ends.
It never ends. All right, thank you. We'll talk to you later.